York Summer Fun Station, Yes FM, Rihanna, Mickey Echo, Stay, 836. St. Lawrence Shakespeare Festival is underway, and some folks in studio this morning. Rona Waddington. Rona, you're the director of this whole thing, of Hamlet.
Right? I certainly am.
Now, what challenges face you directing in an outdoor setting?
In some ways, it's actually been liberating in that, we have some big sword fights in it, and so they can cover a huge amount of space during that we don't have in the theater. I guess it's the usual stuff when you're outdoors. You can't necessarily, you don't have control over the light,
Well, yeah.
When it gets light and all of that stuff. But the opening, there's a few scenes in this show that take place outdoors, and it's the first time I've ever seen it outdoors, so it's really exciting. When they first see the ghost, that all happens outdoors, so it kind of suits the play.
Now, how is it directing in Prescott versus directing in other larger venues?
You know what? When you're directing a play, that's all you're thinking about anyway. What's great about Prescott is that in a smaller community, you meet more people. It's an incredibly welcoming town. So you're walking down the street and someone will say, "Oh, are you, with the Shakespeare thing?" And now people are saying, "Mrs. Hamlet," which I find really charming. So it's a very welcoming and kind of warm place to work.
Now, what's your background like? What have you done as far as theater goes?
I sort of came out of the womb in theater in a sense that that's all I ever wanted to do and all I ever did, and I went to school for it, and so I trained for it. I've worked across the country. I worked for 7 years in Europe, 5 of them in Paris and 2 in London, and out in Calgary for a few years. So I've sort of moved around quite a lot with it.
And the strangest things that ever happened to you in your career has been what?
The strangest thing that's ever happened to me?
I didn't expect that.
Goodness. I don't know. I don't know what the strangest thing that's ever happened to me is. But you know what? It's one of those careers, it's one of those businesses where really strange things happen daily, sort of. So there's just too much to choose from. I'll think about it.
This your first time in Prescott?
It's my first time working in Prescott. I've visited quite a few times back and forth, so I was familiar with the community.
Okay. What's the audience like in Prescott compared to other places?
It's an interesting audience because, they appreciate music a lot. So we've capitalized on that and added a lot of live music in the show. And they're very, very supportive of the theater. So they're curious about it and they want to come down and support it. And also because so many people are, part of it, because the community kind of pulled together so much and there are a lot of volunteers, they feel a sense of ownership over the theater. So one has a feeling that you're working with a very large kind of staff, even though there's a very small staff.
Mr. Hamlet is here, Eric Craig.
Yes, hello.
As far as playing your character, do you change it up every night? Is it different for you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a different experience every night because there's just so much text. You can't really, you can map it all out in your brain. You know what's coming, but the feeling of it is different every time we do it, for sure.
How much of your performance is ad-libbed? Any of it? I mean, there's certain things that happen that you've got to kind of roll with. I mean, audience reactions may be different from night to night, but you've got to kind of go with the flow, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I mean, to a certain degree, the emotional journey of it is ad-libbed in a sense. But of course, the words, with my director here in the room with me, the words are going to be the same every night.
Now, how is it for the Lions of the actual show? Because the language is different. I mean, how is it to learn how to do Hamlet?
It's easier than you would think. There's something about the way the poetry is written that gets into the brain really, really well. It's written so beautifully, and the meter of it, the rhythms of it are so natural that for some reason I found it very, very easy to learn.
Is this your first time in Prescott?
It is, yes, and I'm really, really enjoying it. The connection between the community and the theater company has been absolutely incredible.
Now, what is different about Prescott compared to other places you've been working?
For me, it's the engagement of the community itself. The number of people who have come up to me and said, summer doesn't start until Shakespeare starts, and that, to me, is absolutely incredible. I've never been anywhere else where the community is that excited.
What's it like day to day living in Prescott?
It's lovely. It's absolutely beautiful. Right on the river there. This is actually fairly close to my hometown. This is the closest to home I've ever worked in my 10 years as an actor. So it feels a bit like a homecoming.
Okay, we're talking to the ghost. Yeah, Hamlet's father, Alan Price. That's coming up next. Right now, it's Fun and Janelle Monáe. We Are Young on Yes FM, 841.